Dorne is distinct from the rest of Westeros in both its culture and its history. For instance, when Aegon Targaryen, known as Aegon the Conqueror, invaded Westeros with his 2 sister wives and their 3 dragons, it didn't take long for them to subjugate most of the continent. The rulers of each kingdom in Westeros either bent the knee and acknowledged Aegon as their new king, or died screaming. With the surrenders or deaths of those who had once been opponents of the Targaryens, Dorne was the only obstacle they had left. However, Dorne proved to be the most formidable of the lot. When Aegon's sister wife, Rhaenys Targaryen, flew her dragon to Dorne with the intention of conquering it in her brother's name, she was met only by empty castles, totally abandoned. In the planky town, Rhaenys was greeted by only women and children. Upon reaching Sunspear, she approached the Princess of Dawn, Meria Martell, who appeared to be the sole inhabitant of the castle. When Meria refused to submit, Rhaenys gave the usual Targaryen spiel of fire and blood, but Princess Meria had some of her own words to dish out. "You may burn us, my lady, but you will not bend us, break us, or make us bow. This is Dorne. You are not wanted here. Return at your peril." Evidently these words stuck with Rhaenys, who decided to hop back onto her dragon and GTFO. Dorne was left untouched for the remainder of Aegon's conquest, and the Targs had to make do with the rest of Westeros while Dorne continued its independence, with its people all sworn to the princes and princesses of Dorne. Among the noble houses loyal to the Martells is House Toland, a prominent Dornish family that rules from Ghost Hill. During this period, House Toland took a ghost as their sigil, but, in time, a new sigil would be chosen. 4 years after Aegon's conquest, also known as the year 4 AC, King Aegon, the first of several, would set his sights back on Dorne. Seemingly something of a completionist, he wanted to finish what had been started during the initial conquest, so an invasion was launched against Dorne. Rhaenys' promise of fire and blood was kept when she rode her dragon Meraxes to the planky town and set it ablaze. Elsewhere in the Prince's Pass, King Aegon fought the Dornish defenders alongside Harlan Tyrell, recently appointed Lord of Highgarden and Lord Paramount of the Reach, while Orys Baratheon, recently appointed Lord of Storm's End and Lord Paramount of the Stormlands, as well as possible half-brother to King Aegon, led his army of 1,000 knights through the Boneway. These forces saw numerous casualties on their side, some in battle but many from thirst. Dorne was not a forgiving terrain to these invaders. Nonetheless, Aegon pushed forward to the scantily manned Ironwood, then on to Skyreach, which was abandoned prior to their arrival. However, it was at Ghost Hill that King Aegon was challenged to single combat by a man who claimed to be Lord Toland's champion. Accepting this challenge, King Aegon engaged the champion in battle and struck him a killing blow with the sword Blackfire. Although he killed the man, Aegon would inevitably discover that this so-called champion was none other than Lord Toland's deranged fool. Lord Toland himself had escaped prior to King Aegon's arrival, leaving Ghost Hill completely abandoned. Despite the fool's blood on his blade, it was Aegon the Conqueror who may as well have worn motley that day. To make matters worse, it was only after Aegon had left Ghost Hill that the Tolands managed to recapture it. While King Aegon would eventually reach Sunspear and claim victory over Dorne upon finding Princess Meria gone, this victory would end up being hollow. Returning to King's Landing, King Aegon left Harlan Tyrell in charge of Sunspear with the responsibility of putting down any Dornish rebellions. Sure enough, Dorne would rebel a year later, and Lord Tyrell would march out with his garrison in an attempt to quash it. Lord Tyrell would never be seen again. While Dorne would eventually join the Seven Kingdoms of Westeros in 187 AC, it was on their own terms. Fire and blood did not bring Dorne to its knees. Instead, it took diplomacy and ultimately marriage. Prince Maron Martell, the ruler of Dorne at the time, was betrothed to Princess Daenerys Targaryen, a daughter of King Aegon IV. Only when they were wed in King's Landing did Prince Maron swear oaths of fealty to the Iron Throne, unifying Westeros at last. Despite this, the role House Toland played in the First Dornish War in mocking King Aegon I's efforts and depriving him of a proper victory have been immortalized. Once a ghost, House Toland's sigil thereafter changed to a green dragon on gold, biting its own tail. Green and gold were the colours of the motley worn by Lord Toland's champion, the brave fool of Ghost Hill.